Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the sound effect.
I'm watching you cut your hair.
I didn't even know you could see me still.
This is going out live, people. Shh, quiet on the set. What's happening? Thank you for watching, people. We are just a little bit behind tonight, but, technical difficulties, all that good stuff. Had a lot of stuff to set up and had a couple issues, and we got them resolved finally. So we are finally live. Thank you very much for watching. We appreciate you tuning in, everybody. And I am Todd T. Riley.
I'm Michelle Bench Novak.
And unfortunately, Scott cannot be here this evening because of his daughter, but he'll be back in the next show. And we are
the sound effect. Todd's got a little behind tonight.
I got a little behind.
Hey, my goal, as you guys know, is to make Todd shake his head every show. And even though I don't have Scott to help me with that tonight, we'll miss you, Scott. I totally plan on doing that anyway, so get ready.
Yeah, you're usually pretty good at that.
I know.
By yourself.
I know.
You don't need Scott to do
I've
that.
got it elevated down to like an art form now. I'm very excited about that.
Yeah, for sure.
All
right. Of course,
right.
we can't forget our man Doug back there behind the scenes. Thanks for all you do there, Doug.
Love
We appreciate
Doug.
you very much, man. Our guest tonight will be joining us via Skype, and we got a video featuring him and coming up before the show is through. And I have chosen our new music showcase video tonight. We're going to have all that coming up a little bit later on in the show, so you will not want to miss that. And don't forget to get your vote in on our social media poll for this week. It's on our Facebook page. Which band do you think should have made a live album in their prime, Motley Crue or Skid Row? We're going to be discussing that later on in the show as well. But first, let's say hello and talk to our guests.
Joining us via Skype, we have a very special guest. I'm very excited about this talk because this is my friend. He's got better hair than me, and he's an incredible guitarist. Jimi Bell, guitarist, House of Lords, you might know him from, and most recently Autograph, which is very exciting. Thank you for joining us tonight, Jimi Bell.
It's a pleasure to be here, Michelle. Thank you so much for having me on.
Oh my gosh.
I really appreciate it.
You know how excited I was that you
There we
agreed to
go.
do this. So it's very
doing,
cool
Jimmy?
stuff. And this is
How
Todd.
you doing, Todd?
Good, man. Thanks.
Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too, brother. Thank you for doing the show. We appreciate you coming on tonight.
My pleasure. I was really excited.
Yeah,
I was really excited it actually happened.
Yeah, we've been excited about having you on, man. So
Yeah, it's good stuff. It's good stuff. And I can actually see you here. So we have some people already joining us. Jimmy, we got Jeannie Schweitzer. You probably know her, Jeannie. And she's saying, hey,
Oh, sure.
Jimmy. And then we actually have my assistant all the way from Australia that helps me with my other show, Shaking Their Afters with Michelle, Laurie Nickel. And he's like, hey. So we're going to have a lot of people joining us, and they'll give us some questions for you as well, besides all the stuff Todd and I are going to ask you.
yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Ask away. Hit me with what you got.
All right. Who's first, me or you, Todd?
So let's get into it, man. When did you start playing guitar? And what inspired you to pick up the guitar and start playing?
Well, I'll tell you what. I was I actually played guitar at a very young age. I had a toy guitar at 5 and everything. I messed around with a lot of instruments, but by the time I think it was around age 10, I fell in love with the drums, and I was I really took a loving to that, and I played drums for about 3 years, and I actually had a scholarship for them with the Hartford Conservatory of Music.
Awesome.
And I was in junior high at the time, and the high school kids would come over and jam with me at the house because I had the drums, and that's where you would come over there, to set up and play. So one time, the guitar player left his guitar out against the amp, and he had this big muff fuzz, and so they went home, and I picked up his guitar and I turned it on and turned on the fuzz box, and I hit a low E string, and that was it. I fell in love with the guitar instantly. I dropped my drum scholarship immediately.
Wow.
And instantly. And I picked up, I told my father I needed a guitar. Of course, my biggest issue was that I'm left-handed. So that was a real problem. I had an acoustic guitar, which he restrung. And, that's what I had to learn on for a little bit. But it wasn't long till I had my first electric, because once I started playing, the guitar never left my hands. I played nonstop every day. No one ever had to tell me to pick up the guitar to practice. It was just in my hands. And it's still like that. And no one ever tells me to, pick up the guitar.
Nice. So did you find that going from drums to guitar, that the guitar rather came kind of easy to you, or was it something you really had to work at?
I'll tell you one thing. The drums really, drums helped me. The fact that I was a drummer helped me later on in life as a guitar player, because it helped me rhythmically while I was playing.
Sure.
So, that really helps a lot. But I just had such a love for the guitar. It was one of these things that hit me like a bolt of lightning. I had to play the guitar. A friend of mine, those same people that I was jamming with, they had this, they left a record at my house, and it was Johnny Winter, who was an amazing blues guitar player.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And the record was called Johnny Winter, and it was a live album, and it had Rick Derringer on it, along with Johnny, and they played the record. Just even to this day has some of the most amazing guitar playing on it. And what I loved about Johnny Winter is that he wasn't a typical blues player, although he did play amazing phrases, but he had a lot of fire to him. So as opposed to very soulful playing the way B.B. King does, Johnny had a lot of fire, sort of the way that Gary Moore took it later on when Gary went into the blues form. He had a lot of fire in his playing.
Yeah.
So that's what Johnny did, and he was a faster player, along with the nice, slow, melodic stuff that he did. But the speed thing is something that caught my ear, and I don't know why, but it was one of these things that I fell in love with, hearing the guitar players playing fast riffs. I said, it impressed me a lot. So later on, I listened to Johnny Winter nonstop, and then I discovered Deep Purple and Ritchie Blackmore. And Ritchie Blackmore pretty much is what changed my life. That band, all of Deep Purple, all the different genres of Deep Purple are really what influenced me heavily. So I took that, and then from Ritchie Blackmore, I discovered this amazing jazz player, Al Di Meola.
Oh, yeah.
Who was playing guitar for Chick Corea at his early days after graduating Berkeley. And his picking technique was so precise and flawless that's what I went after. Because I heard a lot of guitar players that were playing fast, but a lot of them, like, this hand wasn't syncing with this hand. It was one of these things, like some people had a fast, I'm left-handed, so if you see me doing things backwards, that's one of the reasons. Their picking hand was going faster than this hand, or this hand was doing all the work and their picking hand wasn't doing a lot. So I really loved the way that Al Di Meola just had this incredible picking, clean as a whistle technique. And so I kind of took the blues influence from Johnny Winter and Ritchie Blackmore's style and Al Di Meola, and I kind of took them all and meshed them together, and that's pretty much what I came up with. And then, of course, later on, along came, Eddie Van Halen, a pioneer who, really brought forth the two-handed tapping,
of course,
technique. So, so you add all those things in, and then you have incredible players like Michael Schenker and all these, there's so many. I mean, the list goes on and on of people that, I dove into a little bit just to grab a few things. But I will say one thing that I never did as a guitar player is I never, with the exception of a couple solos, I never sit to really copy solos note for note. I just never wanted to do that. What I do is I get influenced by what other guitar players do. And I know there's a whole bunch of guitar players out there that could sit and play things note for note, like Eric Johnson's Cliffs of Dover, and just all these amazing pieces by Yngwie Malmsteen. There's like a million guitar players out there that could copy all this stuff. But I found that for me personally, it's better not to copy anybody, but to take little influences that you hear from them and create your own. And that's what I've always done. Yeah. I like to create my own thing, even if it's not what that person's doing. I'll take an idea and create something from that.
Yeah, that's great, because then it gives you your own voice as a guitarist. Right.
Let's talk about your invention, Jimmy, because that's a pretty cool thing. It's called the shred neck, right?
Yes.
For those people that aren't familiar with it, I thought maybe you could explain it, because it's really cool. It's a cool thing for guitarists to use as a good tool to keep...
A good tool. That's exactly what it is.
Right.
Well, yeah, it's, well, I'll tell you what happened. One time I foolishly broke this hand. This is my fretboard hand. I had this knuckle had popped down.
Ouch.
And I had to go into a half, I had a half cast on. So, and of course, while I had the half cast on, I was so desperate to practice. I only practiced with these two fingers. I still wouldn't stop practicing. So I came up with all these riffs with just two fingers.
That's dedication right there, Jimmy.
I mean, even with the half cast on, I said, no, I'm not going to stop practicing. So I was, doing all that. But when I had the cast removed, I wanted to come up with some sort of a tool that had an exercise tool that had real strings on it. And a lot of the things that were out at the time were exercises that had springs on them.
Right.
And, I tried them, but when I got done using them, my hand was very stiff and locked up. And I said, well, geez, that's not what my hand feels like after I practiced, an hour or 2 hours. My hand is nice and loose on the fretboard. So I came up with this crazy idea of having a guitar neck that's about this big and with real strings on it. And I would just run my fingers along these strings, do pull-offs and, just practice different finger patterns along all these strings. And it really worked. I had a guy make one for me, and I would just keep it in my car. When I did tracks, when I would go to, when I did a lot of work for the WWE, we'll talk about that later, but I would go down and, on the way down to the studio, I'd be playing on this guitar neck thing, just, get my hands all loosened up, before a gig or any time. And, one day I was at a buddy of mine's house, and he saw it in my car. He goes, "What is that thing?" I said, "Oh, this is something I invented. It's a little practice tool I have." And he was looking at it, and he's into marketing. He's really good at marketing things. And he says, we could mass produce this, And I go, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." He says, "This is a killer idea." And so I let him run with it. And, he had all the connections to make things happen and make it into a real product. And it's been doing great ever since. We have a whole line of different things now with the Shred Neck Company. I mean, even like small size guitars that you could, all playable small mini guitars and, everything with the company. The one thing about the Shred Neck is it is not tunable. I mean, you can't tune it up the pitch. You could tune the strings to different tension. So what I do is, I'll keep the tension either slightly loose if I want to do a lot of bending on the strings, or I'll tighten it up if I want to do some runs. So it's like a workout. It's like a person working out with weights, in other words. So it's a workout tool, and it's really cool. I use it all the time still. I have one in my car, and I use all the time. You can take them on a plane. You can do anything with them.
Right.
Nice.
So Nicholas,
that's priority for your
kind of keeping
your fretting
yourself
hand, not your picking hand, right?
Yeah, I mean, on my way to a gig, I always, I'm not promoting driving with one hand, so don't get me wrong. I'm not saying, but I do have it in my car, and I'll set it on my lap. Now, the way you're supposed to use this thing is it looks like it has a headstock on it with tuners and a neck with 7 frets. But the headstock is actually the body. So the headstock goes down on your knee, and you fret the board like that. It doesn't go with the headstock up in the air. That was my original design, but it was top heavy, so it kept falling over. So you have it right here, and you do your exercise like that.
Nice.
So, yeah. So that I use it all the time, and it really gets your hands warmed up. Like I said, when I was doing a lot of work down at the World Wrestling Entertainment, it was about an hour drive from where I lived to Stamford, Connecticut, and I wanted to be all ready when I got there because they don't waste any time when you're there. You're in that studio, and they're playing the track for you that you got to play on it while you're taking your guitar out of the case. It's like they're moving boom, boom, boom like that, So I wanted to be all warmed up before I got there.
Is that where you live, Jimmy? Is Stamford, Connecticut?
No, I live in a small town called Wethersfield, Connecticut. It's right next to Hartford, the insurance capital of the.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and it's about an hour from Stamford.
So if I want to go see the Steve Wilkos show tape, I can hit you and Mandy up then because it's an hour away.
Yeah, we're only an hour away. Yeah.
So we actually had Nicholas get on here, and he said, "What brand is the best for shred neck?" Well, that's actually your brand because that's your invention. So where can someone?
Well, no, we have a lot of artists
where it goes?
Models. I have a Zach Wilde model. We have Jason Becker. There's a lot of
nice.
If you go to www.shredneck.com, you will see all the different models out there. I have a model on there myself. Of course, it's white because I play all white guitars, and it's got a cross on it because I wear a lot of crosses most of the time. And but there's some amazing models on there. And you could any one of them is great to choose from.
Very cool. I'm
Awesome.
gonna have to pick one of those up.
Yeah, there you go, Nicholas. And Lori Nickel, when you were doing your fingers, he said, Jimmy gave us the finger.
I did? Sorry.
So Lori's a hoot. He's in Australia right now. It was 10 a.m. over there when he came on. So, and I got to give him a plug on here, Ty. For those people that don't know, Lori Nickel actually is my assistant for Shaking the Rafters with Michelle. So
Very cool.
If you hear my show, my other show, Lori is invaluable to me. So yeah, Lori wanted to come on and see you live via Skype. So we were just talking. He said he was going to pop on so he could see you on here. So pretty cool.
Wonderful.
And then Jeannie also says, great idea for someone who's had a broken wrist and needs to loosen up. And I guess it's almost like physical therapy for someone like you,
and
right?
I'll tell you something else. We get emails from people all the time, like saying why they buy them, and it's not just guitar players that buy them. They're very cool looking, so a lot of people have bought them just to place on a mantle because you could get a little stand with them to hold them up there. But
very cool.
One of my best emails that I received was a guy that bought one for road rage. Someone that,
great idea.
Not to hit anybody with it, but while he's in the car and stuck in traffic, he would pick it up and run his fingers on it to
it stopped him from road raging.
To give him something else to do instead of thinking about the cars that are braking back and forth in front of him.
Nice.
So it's like one of those squeezy ball things then.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, I might need one of those.
Well,
then,
I've
Jimmy.
had the one that you're talking about. I've had the one you talk about where it's the springs and the 4 springs and stuff, and those are really hard to push down, And I agree with you entirely that I've actually felt pain in my fingers from that because of having to push it down so hard and everything. I can see where this would be so much more beneficial because you're actually like playing, so it's much more the feel of actually playing a guitar. So I can.
And it's true because when I tested out a lot of different things prior to thinking about this, about the shred neck, but it was just after using the spring thing, like I said, my hand was like tight after that.
Yeah.
You know how like when you work out with a lot of weights afterwards, your arms are like very heavy.
No,
and,
I actually don't know about
whatever.
that, Jimmy. Yeah.
I don't either.
Well,
but-
wait. I do have the guns. I do. But it's not from. Look at that. But it's not.
Yeah.
From. It's from. I can't tell you what that's from. Okay.
Smacking people around.
Some suitcases, lifting luggage.
Yeah, I know. Smacking people around at the airport. Get out of my way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I the shred neck thing with the real strings on it just seemed to really loosen your hand. And when you do pull-offs with it, it really loosens up your hands really good. You could go right down to all the strings. So
yeah, because
it's all good.
You can't practice hammer-ons and pull-offs with the spring thing at all.
No, not
so
at all.
That makes perfect sense. It's that's great. I might have to pick one of those up. That's awesome.
We've got a couple
That's really
questions
cool.
popping in from people. So, hey, Jimmy, Todd's got a huge crush on this lovely lady, and her very sultry voice is actually part of our intro for our show. So Danica has joined us on the show, and she wanted to know, which I'm not sure which band she's actually referring to, because now you're in Autograph. She might be talking about House of Lords. How was your first meeting with the band? She's probably talking about Autograph, would be my guess.
Yeah, I'm sure
And
she is.
when did they first tell you in regards to the creation part of it, etc.? So.
Well, I'll tell you how the whole story went. It's a great story. Well, as you know, I'm friends with Steve. I met Steve a while back, and the band would come around the Connecticut area. In fact, they played one show in a club that was open in Southbridge, Massachusetts, a place that was called the Cannery. It was a beautiful room. Absolutely beautiful room, but it was in a very bad location. In other words, if I was able to pick up that room and move it into a better location, it would have been awesome. But it was out in the middle of nowhere, sort of. But a band I was with, that I'm with still, actually, but Max Explosion, which is BJ Zampa that's in House of Lords, now in Dokken. Chris McCarville, who was in House of Lords, now in Dokken, and my buddy Mark Zito. He's a keyboard player in my Deep Purple band, but he's also playing keyboards in Max now. But we had opened up for Autograph at this show, and that's how the whole connection came around. And then they came to Mohegan Sun Casino, and I, was hanging out with them there, and I got to hang out with all the other guys. So we became friends. We would come a day ahead of time and have dinner with them, and the whole thing. So it just sort of happened that when Steve decided he wanted to leave the band to do his new project with his fiance, when I saw that he made the announcement, I messaged Randy Rand, because he's the original member of the band.
Yeah.
From the right from the beginning. And I said, Randy, I know you're getting bombarded with thousands of people messaging you now. But I'd like a shot to, do an audition if you're interested. I wasn't really, I didn't know what to expect. He said he had a very short list of people they were considering, but they would definitely going to add me to the list. Cause I do these things like, I do these little videos sometimes in my room, just of me shredding on the guitar or playing some country pieces, or, I try to show different styles of playing that I could do. And I would post videos on Facebook. And Randy, ever since we became friends, would view them and, make comments like, oh, killer, so I knew he was looking at things that I played. And, it just sort of came about where he gave me 3 songs. He says, learn, obviously turn up the radio, Blondes and Black Cars. And I forgot what the other one was that he had given me. But I ended up, I believe it was Dance the Night Away. Not Dance the Night Away, Dance All Night. And I ended up learning a lot more than 3 songs. I learned about 8. And then they're great tunes, and I really enjoyed them, and I really loved the new songs that they wrote for the last album, Get Off Your Ass. I really like those songs. So I took a little extra time. I learned those, and I kept in touch with Randy, and then I was talking with Simon and Mark on Skype or FaceTime. And I would go over vocal parts with Simon. We'd be going back and forth, and he found out I had a knack for picking up harmonies really good, which was a major part in this, because they were really wanted somebody that could sing. And I'm not the greatest singer, but I can sing harmonies well. And so him and I worked on things, and I heard all my notes very easily that I was supposed to sing with him. So it just, worked out. And they said to me, okay, we'll fly to LA. First off, they said, I'll tell you this. He says, what turned into doing 3 songs, and then I learned 8. He says, look, you're just going to do the next 3 shows, and let's see how everything goes. So after I went to LA and I played 1 song with them, that was it. I played 1 tune. I had the entire set learned. And that next morning, that's when the post came out that I was the new guitarist for Autograph.
Nice.
You know what was
great.
really cool about that to me was because, Steve, I actually helped Steve Lynch find his place here when he moved to Florida. I took him around for a couple days. We're actually really good friends. And, I respect people's wishes creatively to do something different, because y'all are artists, and you have to, sometimes you have to change your environment, to create. So I appreciated that, but I was kind of disappointed he was leaving Autograph, and I was because I love Autograph, and I was like, oh my gosh, I wonder who they're going to get to replace Steve, blah, blah. When I saw it was you, because I love you, I was like, oh my gosh, they couldn't have picked anyone that would have made me happier. So because I'm a huge House of Lords fan, and you know that, and I was just so thrilled to see you get that opportunity. So very cool thing. And I saw amazing responses from the fans.
Definitely
Did you
cool
expect
thing.
that you were going to get such a great response from the fans right away, Jimmy?
I
Stepping in Steve's shoes of him being original,
I was totally blown away. I mean, look, Steve is an icon. He's he's a founding member of the band, and that's not an easy thing to just step into. That's
for sure, big shoes to fill.
It's not, you just don't walk into something like that. I don't play like Steve. I have a very unique style of playing. I have my own style, and I like to bring my style of playing into their stuff, and these guys love it. And they said the only thing I really had to learn was turn up the radio, which is, as far as the solo goes. And they said everything else you could pretty much, do what you wanted to. There's a couple other ones that I took the time to really learn, and wanted to get at least parts of it. But other than that, I really love the fact that the guys are letting me be me and do what I want in the songs. Very cool. I got to say, I absolutely love being a member of Autograph. I can't say enough about the band. I'm not saying this just because, I'm new in the band or whatever, but I was a fan of the band, and I really like working with these guys. It's very difficult. It really is. Sometimes it's really difficult to get in a really good working relationship with the people that you're involved with. There's always something, this person says, there's always, but with these guys, I'm comfortable, and I don't even know how to explain it. It was like when I flew to LA and I walked onto that rehearsal stage with them, it felt like that I had been in that band for years. It wasn't strange. It wasn't like when I looked over at Simon, Mark, and Randy that I was looking at strangers. It was like I was looking at old friends, people that I've been involved with for years. And that's from what that was the impression that I got from our very first show with Kix in Virginia. The fan reaction was just incredible and overwhelming. The response that I got, and they really welcomed me, and they were all like they were all saying that it was like we didn't miss a beat. It was like, it was kind of like boom, boom. We just kept going. And that's really what I wanted to do. I didn't want to come in and I didn't want to walk into a situation and be awkward and then have to build things,
Right.
I wanted to go in. I wanted to know my parts. I wanted to have everything ready. And I wanted to go in there as comfortable as I possibly could. And I believe we did that. I believe we came out and made it a really great show, especially for our first one. It came off great.
That's great. So has Steve given you his blessing on that?
Yes, he did.
Cool.
I actually sent him a message when I was in Virginia. I didn't want to bother him because, I don't know all the ins and outs, and it's not my business of what is going on. If anything went on with, other than what, was really going on with the band. But I did send a message, and I just said something to the fact I want to tell you what an honor it is to be stepping in for you. As you know, we're best of friends, and and he wrote back saying I couldn't, I'm so happy you're the one that got the gig, and it was a wonderful thing. It actually happened right before I was leaving to go play the first show that day.
That's awesome.
Well, I love you both.
Yeah.
So I was, like I said, I couldn't have been happier. And you got a question here from Joel Smades. It says, remember joined forces and run 21 shows together. You and Doug Blair were the Top Guns. So.
Yes. That was a great time. Joined forces. How long do we have? How long is this show?
We got a few more minutes.
You want to get into my life story? You're going to need about 5 hours. But Joint Forces was a great band. We came out about 1986, a little earlier actually, between 84 and 85, and we decided to come out and be an all original band, which was unheard of back then. Now there were bands doing their own music and bands doing cover music, mixing it together. But we wanted to come out and we said, you know what, the hell with it. We're going to come out and do 1 hour and a half, a 90-minute set of all original music. And we're going to have bands open up for us. And we're going to give this a go, And it was, the club owners were real reluctant to take a chance. And we didn't know how it was going to go. But, man, our first night, you're talking in the 80s now. It's a whole different time, a whole different audience.
Right.
You're talking. But I remember it was, had to be, 500, 600, 700 people at our first show. We played the Agora Ballroom, and it was mobbed. And the band really took off. And we ended up hooking up with Joan Jett's management. And we went out on a mini tour with Joan. We didn't have a record deal, which was amazing. We didn't have a record deal, but our manager had a tour bus. So he owned a tour bus company. So we went out and we did an East Coast tour with Joan Jett. And it just went incredible. Matter of fact, Joan's band actually came and rode on our bus because they wanted to party on our bus. And it was great. I got to be very good friends with Joan that tour. I was like one of the only people in the band that she actually took the time to talk to. And I'm sure you've seen my photo of her and I from back then.
Oh, yeah.
On my Facebook page when I had the big spiked hair and everything.
I have to say, Jimmy, while you're saying that, I almost cried laughing at Tony Harnell's comment.
I know.
Did you see that? That was the greatest comment ever.
It was. Tony kills me.
Was that a photo of you and Les Paul? Was that what it was?
Yeah, it was a
really cool
photo of me and Les Paul, and my hair was all spiked out. What are the chances of Les Paul being backstage at a Bon Jovi concert in New Jersey? I mean, that's like this was the big hair days. Ron Keel had opened up for Bon Jovi at that show, and Ron's hair was out like this, not the cowboy singer Ron that you hear now, the cowboy rock singer that he is with the hat and everything. Ron's hair was like this, and he had a killer band then too.
You had great hair.
Keel.
And for those people who aren't Facebook friends with you and didn't see, Tony Harnell, I don't remember exactly how he worded it, but he said your hair, and he said something like, "That is a huge pineapple, sir."
Yeah. He said I won the hair contest or something to that effect.
It was great. Yes, he said you won the hair contest, and he said it was like a "well done, sir" or something like that.
Yeah,
that's funny. That's funny.
It was
I used to have a perfect. I would call it the perfect palm tree hair. I had.
You did.
I knew how to do it back then in the 80s. I had the layer cut, and I would mat my hair with my palm. I would palm tease it. I would mat it all around like that. And I'm surprised I have any hair on my head. This is my real hair, by the way. I'm surprised I still have it.
After the Aquanet?
The
white Aquanet?
Palm tease it, like you mat the roots like this, and then I would get the Aquanet Extra Super Hole, and I'd take the pick, and I'd be picking out like this and pulling it, and the hair would just,
the hairspray that you use now, the one that you got to use now, that's almost like that Aquanet, but it doesn't have all that residue. It's Kinra number 25, Jimmy. That's the hairspray.
Well, if I'm ever gonna go back to the ~80s spike hair, I'll make sure I get that.
I got you. Hey, while we're talking about Joan Jett, we have to ask you like the standard stuff. I'll let Todd go for it.
Yeah, so you did the movie Light of Day with her, and
yes.
Michael J. Fox and everything. So how was working with her on the movie, and Michael J. Fox, of course?
Well, that was probably one of the most incredible. I've had a lot of really cool things happen in my life, and I'm very grateful for every single one of them. This was a incredible moment because of the fact we did the East Coast tour with her. When the time came for Michael J. Fox and Joan Jett to do that movie, they were looking for a band for Joan to be for the part in the movie. We still had to audition, even though we were with Joan Jett's management. And we had just gotten off tour with her. We still had to do a form. We had to send in pictures and do so that the producer of the movie would pick us. But we got picked, and we flew to Chicago. And I'll never forget this. We were in we were in the Limelight. I'll just tell you the story real quick. We were in the Limelight in Chicago, and Michael J. Fox was in there, and we had met him there, and he had been there for a couple hours, and he had a few drinks in him and stuff, and we introduced us, and I guess he was getting uncomfortable because people were staring at him a lot. So they had a private room. They had all these separate rooms you could go sit in at the Limelight. It was like a three level club. I don't know if you're familiar with the Limelight used to be. They had one in New York and Chicago. It was an old church, like they made into a nightclub. Well, they had these separate rooms with couches, and Michael's manager asked me to come in and sit at the opposite end of the couch where Michael was, so people would come in and stare at me as opposed to staring at Michael, which is so strange because of my spiked hair. I had a a striking resemblance to Nikki Sixx back then.
Oh yeah,
So-
you did kind of have that thing going on, right?
a little bit facially and everything. So they put me in that room so people might, if they walk by at
Right.
a glance, might think I was Nikki Sixx, and they would, not come in and stare at Michael so much. But anyways, that was really cool. Next day, we're up 4 a.m. We're in. We have to be down to the trailers, and that's where they start the makeup process. I mean, this was my first experience of ever being in a national motion picture. So, it's really cool. You're up, you're in the trailer, getting your makeup on.
Right.
Now, our part in the movie, we were called the Huns.
Yeah.
And we were supposed to be sort of like a Kiss type, makeup. That's the only thing I could describe. I mean, there's a million bands that have makeup, but back then, it was supposed to be like a Kiss. Like they, I'm pale white as it is, but they put more white stuff on my face to make me even more pale white.
All right.
So basically, I looked like a ghost. And then they did stuff to the lips and eyes and everything, and of course the hair. So they did all the makeup, and then we would have breakfast, and then we did the shoot. Now what we did was there was this tune called "Rabbit's Got the Gun" that's on the soundtrack album and song in the movie that we played. So we were in a club, and we did about 8 to 12 takes of a song. And the record plant had a mobile truck outside the club, and they recorded every one of them. We did it live. It's not like nowadays we do separate drums and separate.
Right.
We were playing on stage as a band, recording live. So they found the take they wanted. Then they let all the extras that people found out the movie was being done there in that town, and they let all these people in to the club. And then once they picked the take, they would play it through this big sound system that was there, and we had the mimic playing to it. So I had done so many takes, I couldn't remember what I played. Because I played different all the time. But that's what we did. We pretended we were playing, and with all the people, and people are jumping off the stage, jumping off. And there was one point, Joan and I were going back and forth with the guitars like this, and we smashed our guitars together, and we got a good laugh out of that for a while.
That's great.
Luckily, I didn't break her guitar. And that was it. We did our part. It was wonderful. And then at lunchtime, I actually sat next to Michael J. Fox. And what an amazing, I can't even say enough nice things about him. He was just so wonderful to us. And the fact that he really does play guitar, of course, I'm not sure if he still does, but, he did play guitar then. And he did play some guitar in that movie, not in Back to the Future, but he did in that movie, Light of Day. We were talking guitars, talking technique, talking about scales and, things like that. So we were talking shop while we were having lunch, and that was really good. And, as far as Joan Jett goes, I think she's one of the nicest people I've ever met in this business.
Awesome.
To me, anyway. She always has treated me wonderful every time I've seen her, and it was really great. I saw her a couple times after that, and then I hadn't seen her for a long time till last year. I went and saw her when they opened up for Boston. Boston was playing, and I believe she opened up for them. And I ended up getting another photo with her 30 years apart. So I have the picture of me with the spiked hair and the makeup, and Joan with spiked hair and makeup, and then the picture of us together looking like this and the way she looks now. And it's
Very
great.
cool.
That's very cool. So I hear that I read this anyways. Just wondering if there's truth to it. That The movie was originally planned to be called, I forget now. Bruce Springsteen did the title track. He wrote the song Light of Day.
He wrote Light of Day.
Yeah. And Born in the USA was originally the title that they were talking about, and that he ended up using that title for his song instead. And then they went with Light of Day from the song that he wrote. So this is what I read about that, and I was just curious if you knew about that.
Jimmy kind of said, so I don't know if any of that.
No, it's that's news to me, but that's a very good probability. It probably really was that.
What I read was the guy who wrote the movie had actually gave it to Bruce to ask him questions in regards to a working man's band. Because he knew that was the kind of band that he had and everything like that. And then Bruce ended up taking that title and using it for his song instead, because he wrote The Light of Day, and they ended up going with that as the title track for the title for the movie and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's killer.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, I kind of want to touch base on some of your history and Jimmy, I hate to make you rehash the same stuff over and over, but people always want to hear about it, right? So
I know, it's fine.
You know where I'm going, right? You do.
Yeah,
so
I know.
I want to talk about when you auditioned for Ozzy Osbourne back in 1987.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
I know that it was you and Zach Wilde it came down to, and then from that question, we can kind of lead into another one, which that what that was going to be. But we'll start with your audition for Ozzy, because that was a very cool thing, the way that came about for you.
Yes, it is. Well, I was endorsed by Kramer Guitars, which was the biggest guitar company in the 80s. They had Eddie Van Halen as their main spokesman, and a list of other, Richie Sambora. I mean, the list goes on and on of people that were using Kramer guitars. And I had done a clinic one time. I had got a Kramer guitar when it came out, and I had a Floyd Rose tremolo. Floyd Rose is the tremolo system that's on these guitars. And I didn't even have a left-handed one. They didn't make them left-handed. I had to have a hole drilled on a right-handed one onto the other side just so I could have a Floyd Rose tremolo. Anyway, I did a clinic, and Floyd Rose came in. He was doing these things, going around the stores, selling his talking about his product and this and that. So after I got done performing, Floyd Rose goes to me. He says, "You should be endorsed by Kramer Guitars." And I said, well, nothing would give me a greater, honor than to be endorsed by that company. So a few months later, the president, Dennis Berardi at the time, he was doing, going around from store to store, all the stores that were handling Kramers. And he came to the store where I was at, and he says, "I understand I owe you an endorsement." And I went well, so I was blown away, so that's how the whole Kramer guitar thing came about. Well, they took this all leads to the Ozzy thing. This is why I have to tell you this. They took a lot of interest in me because they really loved the way I played, and they were going to do this big whole ad campaign with me. In fact, the ad campaign was going to be, "Who the hell is Jimmy Bell?" That was going to be the ad campaign.
It sounds great.
That's great.
Yeah. So what they were going to do, this is what they all was being worked out. They were going to have me, they back then they always had the back cover of Guitar Player magazine or a full page inside, whatever. They were going to do a full, the back cover Guitar Player magazine with me for, several months, with just a silhouette of me. So the palm tree hair with the silhouette, with the "Who the hell is Jimmy Bell" caption. And then a few weeks later, whenever, there would be the picture with Kramer Guitars and all that. So while I was with them, this thing about Jakey Lee leaving Ozzy came about. And I get a phone call on a Wednesday morning, and they say, "Jimmy, we set up an audition for you for Ozzy, and you have to fly out. And I said, okay, when? Over the weekend? They go, no, now. you got to leave right now.
No time like
so
the present.
I had to get to the airport. They had a ticket for me. Flew to California. Was picked up by the person that does all the running around. That's been with Ozzy forever. Yeah, does all his running around for him and everything. They put me at this beautiful hotel in L.A. Gave me some money, which was great. While I was there, now you got to understand that they had already played with Zach and already kind of picked Zach. But when Sharon saw my tape, they wanted to fly me out to do the audition after they saw the tape. So I was sitting in my hotel room, and a knock comes, on my door. I open the door, and there's Zach Wilde, and he's holding 2 Coca-Colas, not beer, 2 Coca-Colas. And this is when Zach didn't look like Zach. This is when Zach was a really clean cut. You know how he looked in the Rockstar movie? That's what he looked like. He came
Pretty
to the
boy
door.
Zach.
And great guy. We sat and we played. We jammed together. And we had an incredible time. And we became friends from that point on.
Awesome.
So I had to audition with Randy and Phil. Ozzy's rhythm section at the time. And while I was auditioning, Sharon Osbourne sat in and watched me. She didn't do that for anybody else, but the reason is that all the guitar players who auditioned for this only auditioned with Randy and Phil. Like Ozzy wasn't going to sit through all the auditions, you know what I'm saying? Because I heard there was like almost 500 people that had auditioned at the time.
Wow.
Yeah, it was crazy. So after I did it, I did a great job at that one. They kept me a day, and then the following day, they brought me over to this other studio that had a big stage and big rehearsal studio out there, and in walked Ozzy, and I had to do an audition for him. Now, this is a great story. I tell this all the time because it's so funny. There was this one other guy before me from Sweden. I don't know who he was, but he got to do an audition with Ozzy as well, and he went on right before me. So, he's up there and he's doing, they're doing Flying High Again. And, Randy's in the solo section and with Randy, the signature tapping part, the descending part that Randy does.
Yeah.
You don't want to mess with that. You don't try to mess with that. Well, this gentleman, seeing he was from Sweden, and Yngwie was from Sweden, and Yngwie was making a name for himself. This guy decided to take that section and start sweeping arpeggios throughout that, as opposed to doing what Randy did.
Bad move.
And that was a no-no. And when Ozzy heard that, this is no lie, I swear. Ozzy was standing behind him, making like he was stabbing him to death, like this, and then he had his hands like he was choking him around his neck, like this, like he was strangling him. And then the kid would turn around, and Ozzy would give him the thumbs up, like, "Yeah, you're doing great," and then like make like he's choking.
Sarah, love that story,
like,
Jimmy.
that's
That's why
great.
you got to tell that story.
I got a great picture
Yeah.
of me and Ozzy with Ozzy actually choking me. It's pretty cool.
Yeah. So this is, so you got to understand, I'm getting ready to go up, and I'm watching this, and I'm just going, oh my God, this is insane. So anyways, the kid gets done, and I go up, and I had it. I was going to keep my eyes on Ozzy a little bit more, but I started off with I Don't Know, and I started it with a bam, but I had a great groove going with the guys. Everything was just clicking phenomenal. And then when I did the solo, I didn't alter it. I did my own little thing of it, but it was still that solo.
Sure.
It wasn't
Right.
it wasn't Randy's solo note for note, but it was all the parts.
Right.
And when I did it, Ozzy got down in front of the amp and was listening, and I did like 4 or 5 tunes with him, and then I had to do a guitar solo. And so they, went up in the balcony and watched me do my guitar solo, and, one of those things. And then I jammed with him. I did this little bluesy jam with him that Ozzy liked because he said, Black Sabbath used to do a lot of bluesy stuff in the early days. So he was really digging on that. So I went out to dinner with them afterwards. First, after I got done, I sat down with Sharon and Ozzy. And they said that it was between me and Zach.
Nice.
So, they didn't have to say that. They could have just said, hey, thank you.
Right.
But that's what they said. It's between you and Zach. So the band took me out. We went to this very expensive restaurant in L.A. I think it was all doctors and lawyers, whatever. And there's Ozzy, Ozzy being Ozzy, and the band and everything. But it was a great experience. And then I went out with Randy to the Troubadour for a little bit, and I went home. And I guess overnight they talked about it, and then the end result, they decided that they were going to stay with Zach. Now you got to keep in mind, I was playing a Kramer guitar with a whammy. I'm left-handed, everything. Zach was blonde, played a Les Paul like Randy, the whole thing,
Sure.
that had that could have had, something to do with it, things like that.
Yeah.
I was hoping that Ozzy wasn't holding anything against me because I'm left-handed like Tony Iommi. I know because Tony Iommi and they had a bad split. With between Ozzy and Sabbath when they split. So I was hoping the fact that I was lefty didn't influence anything.
I doubt it.
I'm sure it didn't. But they ended up going with Zach, and of course, I can't even tell you what that's like. I always say it's the Miss America pageant. You got the two ladies right there, and one of them's getting crowned, and the other one's not. And that's exactly what it's like. And it was tough, because it was heartbreaking, and very discouraging for a while. It was one of those things, but it was still an experience that you can never forget about. And it was one that I'll always cherish the rest of my life. And a few months later, my phone rings, and it's Geezer Butler from Black Sabbath. And I'm going, who is this? I'm going like, what? I can't believe this.
Wow.
I thought someone was joking. But so Geezer calls me and says, I got your videotape from Sharon, and I really like it. I'm looking
awesome.
for a guitar player, and so they flew me to England. First, they flew me to St. Louis because Geezer's wife Gloria has family there. They had a house in St. Louis, and then they flew me to England, and it was amazing. I was getting paid to rehearse. I was getting a weekly salary, a daily per diem. Beautiful hotels, just an incredible time in my life. So we do a showcase. We do a whole bunch of stuff. And we showcased for a couple labels, and one of the labels, I believe, I want to say was MCA. I believe that was it. Said, okay, we're going to give you a deal or something. I believe this is what the story that happened. Not 100%. But so I go home, and I get a phone call from Gloria Butler, and she said, Jimmy, I have some bad news. The person that signed us either did something illegally or got caught embezzling money from the company or something. Anyway, he got canned. All his projects got canned. Anything that he was involved with got canned. And that was it.
Oh, man.
It was a done deal. And then, while I'm there, do you want me to continue, or do you want to break it?
I want you to tell the story about your song. You know, for the people that are watching
to that right now.
And then,
okay.
and then
we are running out of time.
And then we'll probably head to the present and see what you got going on. So
okay.
Yeah. So, but I do want
really
to
running out of time
story.
already. Okay. Well, so I'm sitting there. I wrote a song when I was over there in England with Geezer called "Master of Insanity." I wrote all the music. In fact, I came up with the title of it, and Geezer wrote the lyrics. So I go home. After the whole thing's all over with Geezer, I get a call a few months later. Hey, Jimmy, this is Gloria. I have great news. Ronnie Dio is back with Black Sabbath, and they're doing a new album, and they're going to use your song, Master of Insanity, on the record.
Wow.
And I was going like, oh, my God, this is fabulous. I was so excited. And she goes, but there's one problem. We can't give you songwriting credit. She goes, because
wow.
Tony Iommi will never let a song from another guitar player on a Black Sabbath record. So we have to say that Geezer wrote the whole song. I was just like, talk about having the wind knocked out of you. Here is a song that I wrote all the music for. And even came up with the title, but I'm not going to get any credit for it. She said, Geezer will put your name in his special thanks, which he did. And she said, when the tour is over, we will pay you for the song. You'll get paid for the song. So I went, to a couple shows, like when they played in Boston and things, and they literally played the song live. Reviews on the record said it was one of the better songs on the record. I'm reading all this, here they are playing it live. And, at the end of the tour, I got nothing.
Oh, man.
Nothing. And
man.
I was expecting that, though.
Wow.
This is the way the business is, unfortunately. And I don't hold any grudges against that. But... when I think about it, and I go, all the millions that Black Sabbath has, it's like, you couldn't pay me for one song. That's, sometimes I think about that and go,
yeah,
but what are you going to do? I've learned many lessons throughout my career. And unfortunately, sometimes you learn all your lessons too late. And the next time things go around, you try not to make those same mistakes.
Right.
So.
All right. So I figured we could go ahead and go to the present, right? So what's going on with Autograph? You guys going to be putting out some new music? You guys, because I know it's always cool when you have a different creative mind coming into the mix. So that I know Simon and I talked about that recently because I just had him on my other show. And we were talking, he was saying how great you guys meshed. It was a great interview. If you didn't get to hear it, I'll have to send it to you. But he spoke very highly of you. And you guys going to be planning on doing some writing for a new Autograph and more shows coming up?
Absolutely.
And I know you're playing Monsters of Rock as well. So
yeah, Monsters of Rock. There's all kinds of stuff going on. I definitely am very much looking forward to writing songs with Simon, Mark, and Randy. In fact, as soon as I found out that I actually was possibly going to be the guitar player for Autograph, I started writing my writing gear. I shifted gears from the House of Lords stuff that I was doing, because I just finished doing all my parts on the 8th House of Lords CD. I shifted gears into writing tunes for Autograph, and I put down a whole bunch of really great ideas for these guys already, and I got to play a couple of them for them in LA, and they really liked them a lot. So I love Simon's voice. I really, really do. He's got a very unique, powerful voice. I love the way he projects.
Yeah, he's a great singer.
And I think he's a great front man. And I'm a fan of the songs on the new record, like I said earlier. And I know he had a lot to do with those. Those are some of my favorite songs to play live, actually. That being said, I'm really looking forward to sitting down with Randy, Mark, and Simon and collaborating on this. And I really hope it happens soon, because, man, I got some stuff that I think they're just going to really, that I think is going to be very powerful for the next record. I'm very excited about it.
Nice.
I do have one other question for you, Jimmy. So I know when you were in House of Lords, you guys didn't do a lot of live shows, and I know you were wanting to get out and do that more and experience with the fans. Are you going to be playing any more shows with House of Lords, or is it just mainly focusing on Autograph now?
No, I'm still doing House of Lords, just depending on the schedule. I promised I made a promise to the guys in Autograph that all their dates come first with everything, and that's just the way it is, because this is something that I've been wanting to do for a long, long time, and to be a fan of the band and to really love the guys that you're working with and wanting to have a future with these guys. This is exactly what I've been looking for a while, and I'm very excited and to be a part of it.
Fantastic.
And that's so. I mean, if something happens where I could fit in, we could do House of Lords shows in between something, and absolutely. We always try to work as much as possible. I mean, I have cover bands that I work with around here. I have my Deep Purple band, Beyond Purple.
Max Explosion you do, which is an original
Max
stuff, though.
Explosion. I have a Bad Company tribute, Straight Shooter, another one, Wicked Gypsies. I've got all kinds of things that I'm involved with, mainly because I love to play guitar. I'd rather play guitar every chance I get than to do something else. So anytime I get an opportunity to perform on stage, doing anything is what I want to do.
Great.
Very cool.
That's awesome.
Well, Jimmy, it has been such a pleasure to hang out with you and your fabulous hair this evening.
Yeah, for sure, man. It's really great having you on the show.
We love talking to you, and I was so glad you got to meet Todd here, and we couldn't be happier for you, for your opportunity.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I know I probably overtalked you guys.
That's
you probably had a lot more questions.
Hey, boo, I'm a talker. It's okay.
We'll just have to have you back on the show.
You could have cut me off. You could have cut me off at any time.
But you were telling the stories that I was going to ask you about, so it was all good. It worked out great.
Great stories, man. So
we got to talk about your palm tree hair and stuff. So it's fabulous. Yeah. Absolutely fabulous. So I don't want to overkill people with Jimmy, but we'll have to have you come on my other gig, like maybe next month or something. So, but
Absolutely.
You're always welcome. We can't thank you enough. Seriously. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
It was my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me. And, and I just want to say real quick to all the Autograph fans again, thank you from the bottom of my heart for the warm welcome that you've given me. I can't thank you enough. It means the world to me. And I love being a part of Autograph more than you could ever imagine.
That's great.
Well, I can't
That's
wait
really
to see you out
awesome.
on the road, Jimmy. I'm hitting you up. I'm going to come out and see you guys. So.
Yeah, look forward
All
to
right.
seeing you playing with him.
Thank you.
All right, my friend. Thank
you
you
very much.
so
All
right.
much.
Good.
All right, no
Take
problem.
care.
Take care.
All right.
Yep, bye.
Have a good night.
You too now. Take care.
Doug, kill him on Skype.
Are we on?
Not yet.
We will be in just a sec.
I just wanted to take a water. That's all.
Don't do it yet, Jimmy. Don't do it.
Don't drink the water yet.
Oh, I didn't know if you meant like water a plant.
You done, Doug? Cool. We're going to get on the show poll, and we're going to close things out here real quick. So let's fire that off, buddy. So our show poll for tonight, which band do you think should have made a live album in their prime? Motley Crue or Skid Row? It's a pretty tough one, man. I think it's a great one. Doug comes up with our show polls, by the way, and does a fantastic job for him. Thank you very much, Doug.
Absolutely, he does.
So he
Yes,
comes up
he
with
does.
some really good ones. And this is another one of those that's just like, geez, which one do you pick?
What's your pick, Todd?
What did I pick? I picked Skid Row.
I also picked Skid Row.
I actually have a live album of Motley Crue from their prime. It's a bootleg from Japan, and the guy signed it for me, which was pretty cool.
They signed a bootleg,
Yes,
which
they
means they
did.
must have really liked you.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I'm going to tell you my reasoning for picking. Although I don't want to make any Sebastian Bach fans mad. Scott's wife and Amanda,
Right?
And so I got to be very careful with the way that I word this. So I would say Skid Row because I think back in the day, I think he was the better vocalist.
I agree.
I do.
Absolutely.
I think he's lost a little bit of his chops recently, but
I still think he's the better vocalist.
he's not. And he's probably. I don't know which one's more friendly now. That's all I'm going to say. But I definitely think he was a better vocalist back then. So I would have enjoyed hearing a live album from them.
I've seen them both several times. I saw them
great
back then,
stuff, right?
And they were both really good, especially in their prime. But I think Skid Row was the better live band.
Yeah.
As far as music was concerned,
Me too.
Motley always put on a better show.
I just liked watching Tommy on the drums. Like,
Oh,
he
yeah,
always
there's
did
no
cool
question
stuff,
about
you
that,
know.
and that's part of the show aspect of it.
Right, but that's
you know.
something that you're not going to hear on a live album. That's more of a visual
Right.
thing,
That's
like you're talking
totally
about.
a visual thing.
So-
they always put on more of a visual show, much like Kiss did.
Right.
And had the big, elaborate stage setup and things like that, which was really awesome.
Doug,
They
what-
definitely put on a great
I
show.
totally
but
agree.
Skid Row all the way, solid live band back in the day in particular.
Absolutely.
So.
And I think that would have translated a lot better onto an album.
Oh,
Would be-
absolutely.
that's why I picked him
Yeah.
as well. And Jeannie also said Skid Row.
They just
and
had
Doug,
a great
what was your
live
pick?
feel to them.
Skid Row.
Yeah.
And what was
You
your
picked Skid
reasoning?
Row.
Me and Todd were talking about it earlier. I think when they were in their heyday, they were just massive. They hit the stage and they were energy from start to finish.
Yeah, they
And
just
Sebastian was always on cue. Always.
And I'm just going to throw this out into the universe because now we have Sebastian Bach performing with a great band, by the way.
Right.
He has an amazing backup band. And then we also have Skid
Rob
Row.
DeLuca on bass.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We got to give Rob a big shout out here because we love Rob here at the Sound
Absolutely.
Effect. And also Skid Row puts on a great live show. And I just got to say this for the ladies viewing. Rachel Bolin is like hotter now than he ever was back then. I don't know if he's found the fountain of youth, but he's smoking hot. And
The
I've
dude
seen him
does
up
look good
close
for-
backstage.
yeah, he looks good for his
amazing.
age. He looks
I
great.
actually talked to him over at Spooky Empire when he was over there.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very nice and very friendly, and he looks amazing. I don't know what he's done, but he's like aging in reverse.
Yeah.
So you go, Rachel Bolin. Got to throw that out in the universe right now. But absolutely, I think that was a great poll. And it's crazy because
It's
say
absolutely
it.
crazy.
It's opposite of what we think, but it's very
Yeah,
close,
yeah.
right?
It's super close, 51% to 49% with Motley Crue winning it.
See, I disagree, but
I disagree too,
But I
but-
get it. Motley's huge. Motley's
Yeah.
a big band,
Motley
and I
was
get it.
huge. Now, as far as, huge and becoming a bigger band. Motley Crue became the bigger band.
Right.
There's no doubt about that. Skid Row didn't have a movie made about them, and
Good point.
Motley Crue obviously had a lot of things in the news about them.
A lot of antics. A lot of antics.
A lot of antics.
Keep them busy.
They were definitely known for their partying and their
So very cool
having a good
stuff.
time. But 51 to 49, which is super close. I mean, you can't really get much closer.
No,
than
you
that,
can't.
so.
You can't do that.
So next week, or our next show poll, actually in a couple of weeks here, we are going to have what is the best song by an artist that was not on one of their studio albums, either Megadeth's Angry Again or Rat, Nobody Rides for Free, both of which were movie soundtrack songs, and both of which were very big for the band, but neither of which was on any of their studio albums. So which one do you think was the better one? That's pretty cool.
Very cool. And I'm just going to do a quick small plug. So those viewers that are going on the Mega Cruise, Megadeth, I will be there. Looking forward to seeing everybody and rocking out. I'll be representing the Sound Effect and Rock Rage Radio. So it's
nice.
Going to be great fun. Hopefully maybe I can get that Wi-Fi to work well enough where I can go live on both pages and say howdy and get some rockers to say hi to us here in the Sound Effect land and Rock Rage Radio as well. So
that'll be cool. So rounding out the show tonight, we got a video for you featuring tonight's guest. This is Harry Scott Elliott featuring Jimmy Bell. The song is called Psycho Circus Monkey. We're going to play this video for you, and then we're going to close out the show and wish you a good night. So check this out. It's really cool. Some really great guitar playing going on here from both Harry Scott and Jimmy Bell as
Jimmy's
well.
an amazing guitarist.
He is an amazing guitar player, and this video will show you just that. So check it out. Psycho Circus Monkey.
Cool name.
Yeah, it is cool. So there you go. Harry Scott Elliott featuring Jimmy Bell and Psycho Circus Monkey. What a great song. That's
Cool
cool,
stuff.
man. Just some
Very
great
cool.
stuff. They were just tearing it up in that song. So gotta love it, man. We want to say thank you very much to our special guest, Jimmy Bell of House of Lords and Autograph, for talking to us via Skype tonight. Via?
You say via, I'd say via. You say via, I say via. I don't know.
So our next show is going to be on Tuesday, October 22nd, or somewhere very shortly around there. It's going to be at 8 o'clock as normal, and we're going to let you know who our guest will be very soon, so be sure to tune in for that. We got an idea, but we just haven't locked it in yet. We want to say thank you, of course, to Bake More Pies for letting us use their studio. Cords came in tonight, bringing some students in here.
Yeah, we had some
show 'em the
student
studio,
guys.
which was pretty cool.
I don't know. Jimmy knew he had students hearing his Aussie story, so that was
Yeah.
pretty cool.
Yeah,
Cool
so
stuff.
If you want some video work done and need marketing for your business, be sure to check them out and contact them at bakemorepies.com.
It's an incredible place.
Awesome studio.
And oh my gosh, and can do just about anything here.
yeah, and Cords is the best.
So also be sure to visit our website at thesoundeffectshow.com, where you can see previous shows and find out what's coming up on our show calendar. While you're there, be sure to click on the links to visit our social media pages, share us, add us, like us, and subscribe.
You can actually also watch us live on this soundeffectshow.com
Absolutely. Oh, yes.
cool.
We've got that going on. And we also have our own YouTube
Yeah.
channel
Sound
as well.
Effects
So,
Show.
yeah, the Sound Effects Show. So, also, here's the part.
Shameless plug.
Here's the part where I give a shameless plug for myself. Be sure to check out my other show on Rock Rage Radio. I've had a show on there the last 2.5 years. Got to give a big shout out to my peeps over there at Rock Rage Radio. So go to rockrageradio.com. You can check out my show on Thursdays, 8 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Central, 5 p.m. Pacific. Shaking the Rafters with Michelle. Got a special guest this Thursday. 2 special guests, Adrian Adonis and Kenny Wilkerson from Nova Rex. Join me on the show with Scary Stories from the Road.
Cool. Got a little Halloween thing.
It's fitting for Halloween.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a riot, and it scared me even. So, yeah. So, check it out.
Cool. So closing out the show tonight, it's my turn. I have chosen tonight's new music showcase. And so basically we started the show with this band, this music, and we are finishing the show with this music because I have picked Not Your Ordinary Melodies. They've got some really, really great music, and it's more cinematic. They did the sound effect intro music for us.
Oh, it's great stuff. I love that.
And this is a project that they were working on, and it's really, really great. It's called Beauty in the Storm, the EP that they have out. Not Your Ordinary Melodies, some great stuff. You want to check it out. This is Beauty in the Storm. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you on Tuesday, October 22nd at
Ish.
8 p.m. Ish, yeah.
8 p.m.-ish.
All right. Thanks. Have a great night.
Have a great night, everybody.
See ya. Peace out.